Now it's time for perspective on the programme, and you need to man up, or perhaps you need to become a man. One of those lines heard regularly, either in films or for real, to show how a man has to be dominant, powerful and strong. True, or are those phases just out of date and a real sign of sexism towards men as well? Well, it's also part of the myth of virility, ensuring the domination of man over women. Some of the areas covered in my guest Olivia Gazalé's book is called The Myth of Manhood, and she joins me on set here. Thanks very much for coming and talking to us today.
Thank you.
So, men being the victims of sexism, and in the same book you're discussing manhood and virility. I mean, why do you think that men can be the victims of sexism as well?
Because, Simone de Beauvoir said rightly, one is not born whether one becomes a woman. And I think the same for the man. One is not born virile, one becomes virile. And becoming a virile man is a very hard process, and it's also a burden. And injunctions, it's a set of very heavy injunctions who are coercive and discriminatory. Coercive because you have to be strong, brave, ardent in the fight, to have a sense of honor, of sacrifice, be performant, even sexually, politically, military. It's an ideology of domination, as you said. And it's also very discriminatory because all the men who doesn't show the markers of triumphant virility have always been stigmatized or even killed. I think of the effeminate homosexuals who are still killed in many countries around the world.
So you don't even think that men and women are born differently? You think it's all part of how they're brought up?
The question is not about difference of the sexes, because this is an infinite question. It's a metaphysical or a biological question, and no one agrees with. It's difficult to have a consensus on, but it's a question of the hierarchy of the sexes, the postulate of the superiority of the masculine over the feminine, and this is a political issue that we can seize and show that this hierarchy is entirely constructed. It's true that we are not the same, but are you better than me? That's what we have.
Nowhere near as good, I think, is the obvious answer.
That we have. Are you superior? I mean that. What I wanted to show is that we've always said that men are rational. It's to show that women are irrational. Men are strong to show that women are weak. And the two sexes have been constructed in opposition to each other. And this is wrong, because I think the taste of power has no gender. And empathy and benevolence don't have gender either.
Do you think it's, I mean, obviously things have changed over the last 20, 30 years. Women are going out to work, women are more in power than they used to be. I mean, do you think things are starting at least to go back in the right direction?
Yes. Of course, we have, and the Me Too process has been very important because it was 2 millennia of denial of sexual and violence, not only sexual, impunity of the culprits and culpabilization of the victims, and all this is starting to in the good way. But we also can notice some backlashes in all over the world. You think of Brazil, of Bolsonaro, or even in some states of in the United States. So every time there is a battle for the rights, some man thinks it's likely to steal something from them. And they think they have been bereft from their supremacy, and some of them are in a big discomfort. But they have to understand that sexism is a trap for both sexes. It's not only a question of minoration of women, it's also a way to treat the so-called underman and the homosexual, for example, because it's important to understand that homophobia stems from gynophobia or from misogyny. It's because the feminine is degraded that effemination is considered as demeaning. So.
And you talk about in the book as well, don't you, about in some ancient cultures, it was much more even, the way that men and women were thought of.
Yes, very ancient societies, some of them were matristic. where the name of the mother and the belongings were transmitted by the mother, and some societies are still organized this way. I think of the Na in China, and there has been later a process of virilization of the word with all the theology, the metaphysic, the philosophy, the law, the biology, every idea has combined to build this myth of superiority, and in sort that it appears to be natural. And some of them have integrated that it is a natural superiority or
and
hierarchy.
finally, I mean, do you think we could ever get back to a situation where that's all out of the window, and maybe even women become more superior than men in ways that people think about it?
It's not good to get rid of a hierarchy and put another hierarchy. I think that there should be equality of in law and equality in the chance, and it's about understanding that if a man wants to change the way they look at women, they must change the way they look at themselves, and reconsider this ideology of domination, which is deadly for both sexes. That is the point.
Fascinating way of looking at it. Olivia Gazalé, thank you very much for being with us on the programme. That's the book then. It's in French at the moment, Le Mythe de la Virilité. You hope it might be in English one day.
I hope, yes.
We shall see. Thanks a lot for coming in and talking to us on France 24 today.